All right, we're here at our optional session, and I'd like to introduce Lisa Lockman. She is our guest speaker today, and Lisa has been involved in the MiStrategyBank since before it was even born, I think. So, Lisa, I will turn it over to you for our optional session on the MiStrategyBank.
Great, thank you for inviting me today. I'm excited to talk to you all about the Strategy Bank. I have put all the information and resources in a presentation and included slide notes on all the slides. So if you're referring back to that and you need a prompt to remember what we talked about, I've added all those notes in. So those should be easy for you to find. I currently work at MICIP. I retired from Wexford Misaki ISD in June, but was here last year working with the Strategy Bank then. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Oh. Sorry, let me get. I don't know how you do it, Dave, but I always have my people's pictures over the buttons I want to press. All right, so thank you for having me today. I'm really going to talk about how Strategy Bank and MICIP work together. And I know you spent a lot of time focusing on strategies this morning. So this will be the back end view of the Strategy Bank and managing users and a few things like that. I always like to remind everybody that MiStrategyBank was developed in conjunction with MICIP and with partners like CEPI and the Department of Education. Strategy Bank is really the electronic clearinghouse of strategies to help promote best practice and give users access to resources to help implement those strategies with fidelity. We've used a multi-tiered process for populating content in MiStrategyBank. Items with ESSA levels 1 and 2 ratings have been imported from national clearinghouses like What Works. Over the past year, MDE and other partner organizations have worked to curate strategies they support and add them to the global catalog. Additional statewide strategies have been added by organizations that work with the Strategy Bank and become statewide curators. And this is kind of another view of that. So you can see the ones in green are available in the global or statewide catalog. The ISD users can select admin users, and strategy maintainers can add and maintain strategies. ISD users can select how items they add can be viewed. So either regionally for the entire ISD and all their LEAs, or locally for only the ISD, or on behalf of a specific LEA in their service area. Local districts have an option of having an admin user in Strategy Bank. They can create custom strategies that can be added at a local district or a building level and will only be seen by users within that location. A strategy maintainer is able to share an item they enter directly with another entity. So I can show you a little bit of how you share entity to entity when we dive into the actual site. So if you have 2 ISDs or 2 local districts that are working collaboratively, they can share strategies directly with each other. So this hierarchical curation structure helps assist users in finding robust, effective strategies and helps provide schools with resources for implementing those strategies. And we're also trying to reduce duplication. So that's why we have some of these global and statewide strategies, so you can rely on those and you don't have to enter strategies that everybody's using, like Literacy Essentials. You can log into the Strategy Bank by clicking the login button on the mydatahub.org site, which takes you to the data launchpad. And so that's how some of you are accessing MICIP, and you'll see a MiStrategyBank icon there if you are a user, or you can go directly to mystrategybank.org. Their user roles in MiStrategyBank are also hierarchical. Most districts will have 1 or 2 admin users who can add additional users and identify strategies that are supported by the district through coaching or professional learning. And I'll have a couple slides on supported strategies. This chart identifies the actions that will be available for every user. So you see I added in green the things that are specific just to admin users. So they can view and edit the strategies supported by the district. They can edit district contact information, and admin users are the only people that can add additional users. MiStrategyBank users will find the user management tool. This is a change from last year. So last year we had a button that said users. Now you click on your name in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and then you can select users in that drop down that will come up. That will take you to the user management tool where you can add new users or change user access. And at the bottom of the screen, I added a link to a how to create users document. So if you are an admin user and you want to create users, you can open up that document and it walks you through how to create a user. And I can, I believe, yeah, I can jump right out to MiStrategyBank. And Dave, if it's okay, I am using your account for this demo. All right, I did that because as a global admin, I have a few more buttons. So this will give you a better idea what it looks like when you're in here. So you would just click on your name and then you can click on users. Takes you right over to our user management. In Dave's view, he's seeing all the users that are in his entire ISD. So you can click on this filter results. So you can filter people by name. If you use the lookup tool, you could see who's in a specific building. So if I confirm that and apply the filter, I see just the person that can, that is a user for this district. And you always get a little blue pillbox menu at the top, and that tells you where you are. So he can, Dave could see exactly what district he was looking at, and then it's his user list. If you go back to filter and reset the filter, you also have a filter by role. So he could look at and see who's admin users in multiple filters on. So he could say one district admin user or admin users across the entire ISD. I'm going to pause for a second if anybody has questions. All right. If you want to create a user, you click on the create a user, fill in their name, email, and phone number, and then you add a role. So the role, you again have the lookup tool. So you can, as a local district or an ISD user, you can select, if you're an ISD user, the ISD, you could select a district. And if you're a district user, you could even limit a user to just a building within the district. So if you see following across, this is the ISD, the district, and now if I click one building, that's the only place they'd be able to look at strategies. If I go back to here, they have the whole district view. And then confirm the selection. So now that stays up and you select their role. So do you want them to be an admin, a maintainer, or a viewer? So pretty simple to add users. I'm going to cancel that. All right. Clicking on the MiStrategyBank logo or the dashboard will take you back to the kind of landing page or the main page of StrategyBank. The strategy list will bring you to the custom, which is your local strategies, and the global strategies all together in one list. Admin users will be able to select supported. So some of you will see that supported, and that would allow you to manage strategies that the district supports. If you add supported strategies, those will be viewable in the strategy entry information for that strategy. So sometimes when you're looking at a strategy, you'll see a supported field in there that shows you districts and ISDs that support that strategy. That could be by supporting it with coaching or supported it with professional development. A lot of ISDs put that in there so their local districts understand that there'll be local training if they decide to put that strategy in their MICIP plan.
So can I have you pause there for just 1 second?
Absolutely.
And that feature is only viewable here in the strategy bank, right? Like they wouldn't be able to go into MICIP at this point and say what strategies are supported by my ISD.
I think you're right. I don't have MICIP access, so it's a farther down field in each strategy entry. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay.
So I'll double check that, but I just wanted to bring that up here.
Thank you.
And then Lisa, one other item, earlier you kind of showed, what ISD users roles are and what district user roles are. Are you going to go over how they actually get access to be a district person or an ISD person?
Yes.
Okay, just want to double check that. Thanks.
Yep. I'm going to do accounts in just a second.
Okay, perfect.
So we talked about supported, then there used to be a tab that said by location, and that's been changed. It's called integrations now. That section helps you identify strategies that can be viewed in each system connected to MiStrategyBank. So if you want to see everything that you'll see in MICIP, you can click on that integrations tab and select MICIP, and you'll see all the strategies that are currently coming up in your MICIP installation. On that strategy list page, I wanted to highlight a few things. You see where that number 1 is? That's any filter that you have in place. So in this case, there aren't any filters on, but you'll get a list of the filters there. So if you've sorted by improvement strategies, you'd see that filter in place right at the top of your screen. The number 2 is the status of the strategy. Is it published, ready to publish? The blue line indicates the current view. So you see it's under the blue line is under published. Now that probably isn't important in the global strategies, but is important in your local strategies, because if you add a strategy in, it starts in the ready to be published. Or it goes to draft automatically, sorry. So you have to move it over to published. So you may have entered a strategy and then you'll have to double check to make sure you get it to that published column. 3 shows you the number of strategies in the current view. So if you had filters on, that number will change, or if you are looking at just improvement, you'll narrow the number of strategies that match your search. 4, the small blue number next to any of those domain names is the number of additional domains. So that becomes important if you're looking for a math strategy and you wonder why 3P learning came up. Well, that's because if the little blue number is next to it, it's probably also identified as math. And then 5 are the number of students who have been assigned that strategy. So within the strategy bank, you can see how many students across the state or schools have used that strategy in a plan. And you can also look at the strategy entry, and you'll see which locations have added it if you wanted to talk to them about their implementation practices or ask them questions about that strategy. On the main strategy page, there is another sort tool under that all. So you can see you get some sort options, and I'll show you what that looks like. That just means that you could look at just the strategies that you've entered at your location. So I'm on the strategy list here. Oh, there we go. If you click on this all, or if you hold down here, you can change what view you have. So here, if I click custom, those would be the locally entered strategies. So here are the locally entered strategies at this location. And this location is Dave's location. So these are strategies they've entered locally. I can look at shared with me. So shared with me are ones that another ISD or building shared with them. So they didn't have to duplicate the strategy by entering it twice in the strategy bank. So if you're trying to find a particular strategy, these are another way to sort for them. And then you can say shared to others. So these are ones that they've put in and then they shared with another location. If you go into the strategy entry, you can see, so the shared with me, if I click on the 6-minute solution, the original location is Copper Country. So that's who shared it with Muskegon. Just pausing for a minute. Good. All right. Selecting the filter tool will allow you to filter by the keyword, the domain, type, grade, curator, clearinghouse, top 10 goals. So you can see the use the filter tool results document for more information. So I linked that on the slide. Oh, sorry. On the slide in the strategy bank, the filter has a lot of settings. I think we went over a lot of those last year, so I wasn't going to spend a lot of time here, but just wanted to remind people, you can go through the filter. When we talked about supported before, you can now search by supported. So I could say I only want to search by supported strategies, and I only want to search by strategies that are going to be supported by my local ISD. And I can apply that filter. So that's new. The filters are sticky. So when you go back in to look for something else, so let's say those weren't strategies you wanted to broaden your search. The easiest way to do that is to reset the filter and then go back in and select some filter options from there. We tried to clean this up a little. So now the curators are a drop-down list. So if you were looking for catch, which is kind of a new curator for us, they provide some SEL work. You can select the curator and their strategies come right up. Right. If you select more than one strategy, you'll get that compare tool. I don't think we talked about this last year. So as you select strategies down the side, the compare tool will open, and then you can look at the strategies side by side. So if I go back to the strategy bank and select a couple strategies, so Code.org and the STEM challenge, they're both kind of in my STEM category. You want to look at them together. You start to get the list of what strategies you're comparing here. Click compare. And you get the whole list. You can keep scrolling down and look side by side at cost or at how much time it takes to implement, the amount of research, all the information about the strategy side by side. So it will help you make a selection. And that tool is only available in the MiStrategyBank, not in MICIP. When you click supported strategies features, you can use the lookup tool to select your location. So if you were doing the supported strategies, after you select your location, you'll be able to edit the contact information for that location, and then manage the strategies. So these are the strategies that show up as supported. When I go back over here and click on the supported list, you see if you have more than one location, this already is selected for Muskegon. So these are the strategies that Muskegon supports. You can also edit contact information. So if people were wanted information about what support you're providing or what professional learning, Dave could add his name in there if he's the contact, but you can control that contact information. To add something here, you just click add a strategy and you get the title search. So, you are looking for literacy essentials. You just start to type it in and you'll get the strategies, and you could select one. You can go out and view it. And if you want to select it, you just confirm it. Then if you have strategies in here and you're no longer supporting them, so I supported student status last year, or I supported attendance monitoring, but we're not doing that strategy this year, you can just click the little wheel and remove it. If I click view this strategy and scroll down, I'll show you where the supported shows up right here. So you can see the supported. Anything in the strategy bank that has this little pop-out icon, you can click on and the information will come up. So if there was a contact name entered, then you'd see the contact name and the phone number and email address for that contact person. So that's totally optional to add information in there. But like I said, sometimes it's helpful to local districts or other entities for finding where professional development or coaches that support that strategy are located across the state. If you select integrations, you get a drop down and you can select the strategies viewable in other systems that are connected to MiStrategyBank. So if I click MICIP, now here's all, if I'm logged in as Muskegon, here's all the strategies I'd see. You can also look and select a narrower, so you could select one of the districts and confirm that. So then you'll only see their custom or local entered strategies. You'll see what ones are in here. So this helps districts. You could do the same thing for MICIP by being in the strategy list and selecting improvement as one of the filters. You do have filter options here too. So either place for going in and managing, it's probably more helpful for something like MyRead, that MyRead works a little different, and only strategies the district selects get moved over to the system. But you can view here, because sometimes I have people ask me, I see a strategy in that strategy list, but I don't see it when I go into MICIP. So this is how you can kind of check that.
I'm sorry, Lisa, can you go right over that piece again? Because that's it. It's showing up in the strategy list, but when you go into MICIP, you still don't see where it's located.
So yeah, so the easiest way to double check, if you go in here and click on MICIP, you'll see everything that's currently coming over. So if you see it in this list, this is what you're seeing in MICIP. When I have people ask me in the strategy list, oh, I have a strategy and I don't see it, I'm just going to open a strategy. The most common things are the visibility. So if the visibility, if you're at a district level and somebody set it only for a building in your district, so then the high school isn't seeing it, but the elementary is. So checking that visibility to make sure that it's for your whole district or your whole ISD or the whole area if you added the strategy and it isn't coming from the global list. Type is the next thing. So it has to be set to improvement to show up in MICIP. So that type field really indicates which systems see the strategy, and improvement is what you need to have set for the type for MICIP. So those are probably the two biggest things if you think you entered a strategy and they're not coming over to MICIP. To check to see if MiStrategyBank has it set up to come up to MICIP, go over to MICIP, you can click on the integrations and then just search for your strategy there under title. And then you'll see whether it is supposed to be pushed over. So you'll kind of see then if it was a MiStrategyBank is trying to send it to MICIP, and in the help desk, you'll be able to say, well, hey, MICIP doesn't see it, or you can email if it doesn't show up in this list, then you know it's a MiStrategyBank issue, and you can go back through your strategy and make sure all those fields are entered correctly.
So Lisa mentioned the help desk, the link to the help desk. So let's say Shirley went in and all that was right, and it's still not showing up in MICIP. You might need to contact the help desk, and it's that link is listed in our general resources on the dashboard.
I have a question too, David. When I wanted to see how everything works, I tried to log into it and it gave me an error in general. Like I couldn't even log into the strategy using the URL that you started with. Would that be another? Say that you too, Mr. Szymanski?
Yeah, same.
So you may not have account, and that means, and I'll show you as we go through how to get an account and also your ISD lead. So I put a list of all the ISD leads, so that would be the ISD person that could help you set up an account. All right. So adding a new strategy, I wonder, if you add a new strategy, you can filter the results to search for your strategy first to make sure it's not in the global list. And if it's not in the global list, so you're looking it up in the filter with the name. If you don't see it, then you can create a new strategy. And it's as easy as filling in the fields. But I did link, because we talked about it a lot last year, at the bottom of this page, a list to PowerPoint that is how to fill out every field in the strategy bank. And so that one really walks you through. This presentation walks through every field. So it tells you, I'm just slide down here a little bit. So it gives you some information about what that field, what might be expected to be put in that field. You come down here to the, like the types, it really explains what each of the types and what system it goes out to. So you can go through field by field and look at how to enter strategies with that presentation. I'm happy to go through that if you want, but I felt like most of you probably entered strategies last year and have a little feel for that. So trying to hit some of those other features today. We do have a support page for MiStrategyBank. That's right here on the go.maisa.org, MiStrategyBank. And then we have ISD leads. So if you were having trouble logging in, this lists each ISD and email for the ISD person who can support entering strategies. On the MAISA page, there is a section to register for an account. So there's an account registration form. That's another way to get an account, but it's probably usually quicker to go through your ISD person who you probably have a relationship with, and they can help you get those settings right away. But either one is fine.
I have a question about that. I sent in a request through that form back in November and I never heard back.
So Taylor was on maternity leave, and so she should be back. So I apologize for that. I bet that we never forwarded some of those emails. So yeah, Taylor's back, or that's why I say so, the ISD staff can help you also. So like Dave at Muskegon ISD, he can add accounts to all of his local districts.
So the best way really is to contact your ISD lead.
Or if you fill it out, prompt Tayller again.
Thank you.
I think you can, yeah. So those are really the getting accounts are either, I'm sorry, flipping around, but getting accounts are either through those ISD leads or filling out that form on the MAISA website. If you don't hear back, just let me know, because it isn't a long thing, long process, as long as we understand what account level you want and for what location. Like I said, Taylor was on maternity leave and we might have missed forwarding some of her essential documents. So, what other questions do people have? I think there's a couple chat. Who has access to the global view? No, the global strategies, I'm going to go back up to my slides. That's the slide that has the shaded green. So we imported some from What Works Clearinghouse. MDE can add things into that global list, and then state associations who have gone through a process and been identified as curators can add things. And you can see the list of curators when you're in the filters. So if you're over here in the strategy list and filter your results, here are the curators. So, you know, they're usually big associations in Michigan. I think the ones that have done the most work are like Michigan Assessment Consortium. AltShift has been putting in a lot of work. MySTEM Network has a lot of strategies they've added. What happens when you add a strategy but it doesn't show up for selection? I think we talked a little bit about that. So Shirley, if I didn't answer your question, you can unmute and clarify a little bit. The visibility only allows you to select custom. Yes, unless you're on the curator list or MDE, you'll only be able to do custom. And when you are doing create a strategy, that custom lookup tool is coming from EEM. So it's gonna, because I'm viewing as Dave, only allow me to do Muskegon. If he selects here and confirms it, it would be for everybody over across this way. So it would be for all these districts and every building within those districts. If he keeps selecting and selects here, it's everybody in Mona Shores. So all these people will be able to view the strategy. If he comes over one more and selects the adult ed program, because it's a super specific strategy for adult learners, then only that building would be able to see the strategy. So it's wherever you click confirm. And then when you do, you see the change at the top. That's the viewable level. And when I click confirm, then it adds that information right here. So I can see where that was. So I can go back and change it. So I want to make it all of Muskegon. I can go and change that. I had a couple questions this year about editing strategies. So if you open a strategy that you created, so I have to go back to the strategy list and do custom. So a strategy that has been created at your location, you get the edit button. So you can edit the strategy. That's also when you get the share button. So if you created it, you can share it. Sharing a strategy is, you get that lookup tool again. So then you just search for what location you want to share that strategy to.
Hi, Lisa. This is Andrea. I'm with New Paradigm. I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
This is kind of in line with what Ms. Brown, Shirley Brown was mentioning. So even with this adding strategies though, does everyone in your district have access to do this? Or is it only like certain specific people? Because like with the custom and everything, I'm just not under the impression that we all have access. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding.
So here are the roles. So it depends on what role you're added. So if you're an admin, you can add strategies and edit strategies. If you're a strategy maintainer, you can add and edit strategies, but you see they don't have any access to changing user roles. And if you're a strategy viewer, then you wouldn't have any of the add or edit strategy access.
Okay, so you have to be an admin. You have to have admin access to be able to customize your strategies.
Admin or maintainer. So both of those two can edit strategies. The admin adds additional users. So admin could change user roles.
Okay. Okay.
See how the grid goes across there?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lisa, I had a question.
Yep.
So I believe when you're kind of going over the, why might a strategy not be showing up? One was to have it selected as improvement. And then the other one was that the visibility had to be set a certain way. I think the only visibility options I get say custom.
Right. No, what I mean is if you go in that lookup tool and you select too far over to the right, you limit that visibility. So if you would have selected an elementary building and then your user is a high school user, they won't see those strategies.
So as we're making them, our visibility is always going to be custom if that's something that we made.
Yeah, anything entered locally is going to end up being a custom strategy, and you'll be limited to that. You don't have the ability to add to that global catalog. But when you use this lookup tool, if you select here, then all of your Muskegon people will be able to view the strategy. But if you added a strategy and you clicked Fruitport and then you were at a school improvement meeting and talking about the strategy and Mona Shores goes in and looks, they won't be able to find it. That's what I was saying. So that's another thing that I think comes up because usually it's that people selected over into this final list and then they can't find them in their MICIP because it's not viewable for their whole district.
Yep. Okay, thanks. That's helpful.
Can you select multiple districts there, Lisa? Like if I wanted all my districts to see, how does that work? Maybe I missed it earlier.
If you want all of yours, so if you click here, that's the whole district.
Right. So like if I was in there and so as an ISD person, I was sharing with like the 6 districts that are implementing strategy X, do I have to go in every time and share to that district individually, or can I just share them all right there?
I think you might have to go in and share them, but that's a good thing for me to ask the programmers about because that would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. For regionally supported strategies for all 19 of my districts, or for people who are in the same place with MICIP implementation and are working on high quality instruction or whatever, it'd be nice to be able to group them.
Yep.
Thanks.
I agree. That's a great suggestion. Any other questions or thoughts? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I did try and embed a lot of those resources right in the presentation. So if you are looking for those, I tried to make it as easy as possible for you guys to find. and left all of my notes in the slide notes. So if you are wondering what I meant on this slide, you can definitely check my slide notes or shoot me an email. So my contact information is on the last slide right here. And I appreciate your time today. I'm really excited about the growth we've made with the Strategy Bank, and we definitely welcome any feedback or suggestions that will make it more user-friendly for you guys.
There were a lot of really nice features that have been added since the last time you presented to the group. So that's great.
Yeah, definitely trying to take a lot of that feedback to heart and making those changes where we can to make it easier for you guys to use.
All right. Any final questions for Lisa? Or any final thoughts or musings to share with the whole group? Lindsay did have something she wanted to bring up with the whole group.
Not necessarily for everyone.
Oh, sorry. I might have misread that.
It's okay.
Oh, may not be of interest. Oh, sorry.
People are welcome to stay on. I was just wondering about the rationale behind ISD strategy maintainers not being able to tag anything above ESSA level 3 or 4. When we think about kind of that toggle between what we're doing for field testing research in those levels, and then looking at kind of MDE as a gatekeeper, but then knowing that there's not direct flow through between what we're necessarily doing and what's been entered at that curator level, how are we navigating that, or why is that?
So I think the advisory committee was really hoping that when ISDs were finding a strategy that they wanted to tag above that, that they would partner with one of the larger organizations that's curating.
And so is that, so like if I know what we want to enter and I need to go to say like my superintendent and kind of walk through this process, and then we need to pick an external, like what do I say about why we need to do that, or why we can't be in control of kind of that part of it? What language do I use?
I think it really was partly because of how stringent the ESSA level 1 and 2. And so they were trying to make sure that a lot of stuff didn't get put in there. And the MDE was hoping that we would keep that a little tighter because of the way they're approving ESSA level 1 and 2 strategies within federal programs. So they didn't want a lot of things in there as errors. So they wanted a couple double check features with a curator group who had a deep understanding of the ESSA levels before stuff got labeled 1 and 2.
Okay, that makes total sense to me. So then what would be your process recommendation for determining which curator group we should approach to enter things that we might need at those levels?
I think that's really up to you guys, thinking about like where you think a good match is. And then a curator group, you know, they're really saying that they're going to take responsibility for collecting feedback around that strategy. And so someone who's really willing to, you know, to spend the time doing that.
Okay. So we can kind of look, I know, you know, we're connected to different ones and whatever. I just didn't know if there was something more official to, you know, to kind of push us down a path. Okay. So that's kind of a self-select. And then I know that as a maintainer, there's that kind of annual cycle, right? So does that apply at ISD or district level entered strategies too? Are we going to be prompted to do that? Or what's the expectation around maintenance? Does that only apply to curators? What's that?
Well, I think there's a real process for curators, and we're working into some of those pop-up reminders at district level.
I know, I'm on my way to Scott. I got you.
Because definitely when districts say they support a strategy, we want them to review that every year. We don't want districts to think like there's going to be professional development and that's not a strategy they're supporting anymore. So we're working on some prompts within the system that would prompt people to review those strategies.
Okay, so at those other levels, so as we start, we're just getting a lot farther down the path since the last time I asked you this question. So I appreciate the
I appreciate the interest and, you know, in process and making sure that we're keeping people up to date and current with all the resources that are available.
For sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, I have a question. You used the term admin as far as being able to add strategies. In the system, it says district user. I'm just trying to make sure we're using the same language. Is there a difference between a district user and admin? Because I didn't even see admin as a choice. I saw district admin, PSA manager, And this is actually in the MICIP system.
So I'm only talking about the roles that's in Strategy Bank system. So
Got
in
it.
Strategy
Okay.
Bank, you see here when you add
Okay.
a user, it's going to ask you for those three.
Thank
roles.
you. Because
I'm sorry,
I think
that was
I'm mixing
confusing.
the both. And I'm like, I don't see that because I don't have, you said that you will tell us how to get in contact with our ISD. And I guess because I don't have that system, I'm combining the MICIP system with this system. But David did tell us from the very beginning that they were separate. It's just in my head, I have to do that. So got it. Okay.
So your ISD leads are here on this slide. So if you click on that link, you'll just get that spreadsheet and that will tell you, who at the ISD is the lead, who would be able to support that. Or you're welcome to, now that Taylor's back, I promise she'll read her email and you can request an account and Taylor will be able to help you out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I did link those all directly right on our dashboard too. So if you don't want to try to dig through the presentation, they're linked right directly on the dashboard as well.
You're so efficient.
Okay, so I think we're getting to the end of our time. So I don't want everybody to feel like you have to hang out any longer, but make sure that you do sign out so that we can process sketchies accordingly. And then if anybody does have additional questions for me, Hilda, or Lisa, you're welcome to stick around for a few minutes too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Lisa. Great job.
We'll see everybody in a few weeks.